Radio Lewes. Local webcasting for a worldwide audience.
Ashes to ash and funk to funky. We know Major Tom's a junkie, strung out in heaven's high, hitting an all-time low.
You're listening to Radio Lewes, where the music matters, and welcome to Saturday Live. My name's Ben Fuller, and I've got 2 hours of great 80s music for you today. We'll have all the other usual stuff. That was David Bowie, Ashes to Ashes from 1980, from Scary Monsters and Super Creeps. Everything's coming today by the double CD collection I Love the 80s, from the BBC and Top of the Plops. And we just carry on with some great cheesy 80s wonderfulness. number one from Spandau Ballet from 1981 from their second album, Diamond. Oh, this is great. Let's just carry on. Duran Duran's now. Duran Duran's first big hit from 1981, Girls on Film, from their eponymous debut album. Its predecessor, Careless Memories, had been chosen by the record company and didn't chart. That one did excellently well, except for the controversy over the music video, of course. And I'm not going to go into that, because this isn't about CD titillation, this show. It's just about great music and nonsense. So let's have some more.
When you're in love, you know you're in love, no matter what you try.
The Human League, of course, with Love Action. That was the band's first top 10 success, peaking at number 3 in the UK singles charts, and again from 1981. I'm going to take a quick break from the music now, and we're going to have a listen to the Cosmic Commander.
I'm in the studio today with John, the Cosmic Commander from the Cosmic Jukebox.
Hello, Si.
Hello! And I just was in here and I thought I'll ask him a few things about his new show, which is good on Radio Lewes. John, what's it all about?
Okay, the Cosmic Jukebox. I think the best thing to do, because it's quite hard for me to put it into the parameters that I've set myself, so let me let you all in so you can see what it is that I've done. Basically, I've gone back as far musically into history as you can go, so I don't mind. I'll play a track from the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, not a problem, right the way up to and including the year 1980, which is a really arbitrary year to have chosen. It is mainly progressive rock, it is psychedelic music, but the difficulty I have, of course, is by moving through those years, you do therefore run into new wave, punk, Elvis Costello, all these types of stuff. And that is music I do like. However, to make sure that is covered by other people on Radio Lewes.
Oh, of course it is.
It does, covered by people such as your good self. So I don't play that, and I'd find that if I did start to play some of that, some of which would fit quite nicely, I would then lose the focus of the whole show, which is the music that doesn't get played, the likes of, Pink Floyd, which is an obvious thing to say, Cat Stevens, all these types of people, but also some of the more obscure stuff. Now, I'm sorry if that's quite a long, rambling explanation, but it is very difficult in music, actually, the minute you set into a particular little set of parameters, you can quickly find yourself, or if I take a step over here, you can go further and further and further, and in the end you just lose the whole focus of it. So that is what the show is. It's basically in a nutshell, to play those things that don't get played so often, and to not play those music that, in my opinion, on Radio Lewes, does get lots of airplay, and it's good that it does.
Yeah.
But obviously I've got to stick
Some
to
of the ones you've been playing, even I've not heard of them. I thought, this is really cool. And some of the psychedelic ones, because it was such a very short period, wasn't it?
It was.
And all these bands were so, we can do that. And some of it's really good. On the other flip, some of it's really bad.
Some of it is really poor. Some of it there's real hard luck stories. Like, for example, I played the Stone Circus on the most recent show. And you find there you've got a group that turned out 10 really excellent tracks, did an album. It's great. It really is good. They're very varied tracks, but they're really solid tracks. The record company, for some obscure reason, decided on release to change their name.
Oh, okay.
The group got completely fed up with the whole thing. The album dive-bombed and they vanished. Now, the amount of these groups that turned out a very solid, good album, things and circumstances went wrong and they disappeared, is amazing. Yeah, some of it isn't brilliant, and you can see why they didn't. They didn't get where they did. But why not? There is some really good gems hidden away. There really is.
And you aim to play them?
I do aim to play them.
Which is good. Well, it's improved the listening.
Oh, thank you.
Which is it's really cool to have something like really different, and it means I haven't got to do it. So
That's right.
So thanks very much, John, and long may it rain.
Thank
See you later.
Si.
Ta-da.
Bye now. Bye.
From 1980, that was Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark and Enola Gay. I think I've said enough on that. It's a great, great tune. I haven't heard that in a long, long time. So a bit of Blondie. Another one from 1980, Blondie's Call Me, of course, from the American Gigolo. Now, the next one on the list is supposed to be Altered Images and Happy Birthday, but I absolutely hate it. So this is much better.
On looking flash and grabbing philosophies where only showbiz loses. We're the dandy highwaymen and here's our invitation. Throw your safety overboard and join our insect nation. Stand and deliver. Honey, will you lie? Try as the mirror. Got bullet or a knife. Even though you fool your soul, your conscience will be mine. Oh, mine.
The lead single from the album Prince Charming, that was Adam and the Ants, Stand and Deliver, of course. And that spent 5 weeks at the top of the UK charts in 1981. Great, great tune. A bit of Fun Boy 3 before I give you the gig guide. There was Funboy 3 and Bananarama. From 1982, but originally the song was called Taint What You Do, and it was written in 1939. First recorded by Jimmy Lunceford, Harry James and Ella Fitzgerald. It was a jazz number originally. Now then, the gig guide. It ain't very long, so I'll get it all out of the way in one go. We're running out a month, so tonight, Saturday the 26th, gig of the month, Andy Irvine. He's at the Elephant and Castle at 8 p.m, and that is £12. Loose Caboose, the DJ night, playing a mix of 60s soul, northern soul, rhythm and blues, Latin and jazz at the Con Club at 7:30. That one is £6. The Manatees and Ibex, double bill of local bands at the Lansdowne at 8 p.m. That's free. The Royal Oak have got Sweet Onions and the Muzztones at 8 o'clock, and that one's free as well. And the Contenders will be in the Lamb at 8:30, and again, that's free. The Contenders are back on Sunday the 27th at the Con Club at 3:30, and again it's free. And Edenwood, Chill Down Sunday at the Lamb, and again, our favourite price. Monday the 28th sees Andy Williams, Javier Ferrero, and Terry Seabrook, Jazz at the Snowdrop at 8 p.m, and again, our favourite price. And finally, Thursday the 31st, a night of horror at the Lamb, 2 live bands and a DJ nightmare from 7:30, and again, it won't cost you a bean until you start drinking. I can tell you about 2 gigs coming up in November that Si's still got tickets for. The Guana Bats at the Con Club on the 2nd of November, that's £18. And the Wooden Tops on the 10th of November, again at the Con Club for 15 quid. And there are no booking fees at Size Sounds. He's open today, go and get your tickets if you want to go to those 2. He's also got tickets for other stuff, but he's been a bit remiss and hasn't given me the list yet. Are you listening, Si? Never mind, let's have some more music.
Say oops upside your head, say oops upside your head. Say oops upside your head, say oops upside your head. Say oops upside your head.
I'm back at you again.
Upside your head.
Radio station WGAP.
Say oops upside your head. Say oops upside your head.
Now on all you gappers and you finger snappers, you toe tappers, and you love lappers, I want y'all to say this with me. Say it.
Upside your head. Say oops upside your head.
Say it loud. The bigger the headache, the bigger the pill, the bigger the doctor, the bigger the bill. Say it loud.
Upside your head. Say oops upside your head. Say oops upside your head.
Now dig.
Upside your head.
Jack was slicker than Jill. He took Jill up the hill. Now dig, I'm gonna say it for you. Jack and Jill went up the hill. Have a little fun. Stupid Jill got a pill, and now they got a son.
Upside your head. Say oops upside your head. Say oops upside your head. Say oops.
Say it loud, Lonnie.
Say oops upside your head. Say oops upside your head. Say oops upside your head. Say oops.
I said, wait a minute. Hey, Jill, that I wanna dance. Don't know that I don't want to. Change my groove. Watch out. What's that? It's pumpkin habit for me. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great ball. I think he cracked on the wax.
Upside your head. Say oops upside your head. Say oops upside your head. Say oops upside your head.
You wanna get up and dance? Don't mean that I don't want to dance.
You wanna get up and dance.
Drown you in this funk. Because you don't believe that I wanna dance. Don't mean that I don't want to dance. I'm on something. And listen. Just because you don't believe that I wanna dance. Don't mean that I don't want to dance.
Upside your head. Say oops upside your head.
I don't believe that. Just because you don't believe that I wanna dance. Making a believe I don't mean that I don't want to. I think I like it. Oh, say it loud. I think I like that groove. Can you dig it? It's lovely, it's lovely, it's lovely. My dear, don't believe that I wanna dance. Don't believe it. What can you do? Take it to the park, right? I'll let you boogie. What can you do? That I wanna dance. Baby do, baby do, baby do. Get the way, son. Here come the cowboy.
The Gap Band there with Oops Upside Your Head. That was actually recorded in 1979 but it peaked at number 6 on the UK singles charts in 1980, so I think that's why it's on this list. It's a great old tune though, and we're going to follow it with Imagination. I didn't look that up. I was too busy making a cup of tea. I'm sorry about that. I'll cover that with this.
Give me time to realize my crime. Let me love and steal. I have danced inside your eyes. How can I be real? Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me cry? Words of you I have spoken. I could waste 1,000 years. Wrapped in sorrow, words are token. Come inside and catch my tears. You've been talking about believe me. If it's true, you do not know. This by love's without a reason. I'm prepared to let you go. If it's love you want from me, then take it away. Everything's not what you see. It's over again. Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me cry? Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me cry? Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me cry? Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me cry? Do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me cry?
Culture Club from 1982. Do you really want to hurt me? That became their first number one hit here in the UK, and it was released in November of 82 in the States and became a huge hit, reaching number 2 for 3 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, I think, we're going to examine the slightly different bit. It's taken a little bit of a time for me to track down Nick Cooper, but I thought it was about time we had another chat about you and the slightly different bit.
Oh, well, you know, I have my other career, but I'm not allowed to talk about MI9 because I have to kill you. Well, what do you want to know, really?
Tell everybody how you got roped into the gang here at Radio Lewes.
Well, it's very simple. My partner, Susan, was working in the kitchen, and she said, you know what, they want somebody to be, another DJ. I thought, well, be a DJ. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I can do that. I can play stuff I like, and
So essentially you joined us because your missus wanted you out from under her feet for a little while.
Yes, she's always trying to get me out of the house with very good reason. I have a lot of space.
But it's a great excuse to come and have some fun, isn't it? So tell us about the slightly different radio show.
Well, I kind of lumber myself with calling it the Slightly Different Radio Show. I'd really like to call it the Slightly Different Wireless Programme to give it a really antique-aged feel. Because what I like to do, if possible, is play stuff that people have forgotten about or have never heard. And often there's a good reason it's been forgotten about, and often there's a good reason they never heard it. But it's not always like that. I mean, I do play pop stuff as well, but I do like to, dredge through the archives of ancient jazz and old blues and rhythm and blues stuff when rhythm and blues was rhythm and blues, and some cranky folky stuff from music from around the world as well. Particularly just fallen in love with the music of Mali recently. I mean, there's some fantastic musicians coming out of Mali.
There's some good rock music comes out of Mali as well. But you do have a sort of liking to play some absolutely atrocious stuff. I'm thinking about Wince of the Week.
Oh, yeah, well, Wince of the Week. I mean, who else is going to play a Barbara Cartland LP or the fabulous Fluffy Where Are You record? I think it's got to be done. People need to, suffer the pain I've suffered. I want to spread their misery around.
Well, you've done that with a couple of records, and there's a good reason why some of them never get played. But it's become a fixture, really, of the show, and the Slightly Different Radio Show always makes us laugh. It's a great show. Long may it rain, Nick. Thank you very much for your time. We hope you keep going.
Oh, thank you too.
Looking out a dirty old window, down below the cars in the city go rushing by. I sit here alone and I wonder why. Friday night and everyone's moved. I can feel the heat, but it's soothing heading down. I search for the beat in this steady town. Downtown Lyon was I going. Downtown Lyon was I growing. With the kids in America. With the kids in America. Everybody lives for the music around. Bright lights and music gets faster. Look, boy, don't check on your watch, not another glance. I'm not leaving now, honey, not a chance. Hot shot, give me no problems. Much later, baby, you'll be saying never mind. You know life is cruel, life is never kind. Hearts will make a new story. Kind hearts will gravity glory. With the kids in America. With the kids in America. Everybody lives for the music around. Come closer, honey, that's better. Got to get a brand new experience, feeling right. Oh, don't try to stop, baby, hold me tight. Outside a new day is gone. Outside suburbia is sprawling everywhere. I don't want to go, baby. New York to East California. There's a new wave coming, I warn ya. With the kids in America. With the kids in America. Everybody lives for the music around.
Kim Wilde, Kids in America from 1981. I've got Tony Basil next. I can't remember what this is. Let's find out, shall we?
Oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Mickey, oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Mickey, oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Mickey, oh, Mickey, you're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Mickey.
Well, now we know. That was Mickey from 1981, recorded by Tony Basil for her debut album Word of Mouth. It was originally a hit in the UK for Racy in 1979, which appeared on their debut album Smash and Grab. We got a couple of minutes before the news. Let's have some madness.
Saying in her sleep, brother's got a date to keep, he can't hang around. Our house in the middle of our street, our house in the middle of our house, it has a crowd. There's always something happening and it's usually quite loud. Our mum, she's so house proud, nothing ever slows her down and a mess is not allowed. Our house in the middle of our street, our house in the middle of our house in the middle of our street. Something tells you that you've got to move in the middle of our. Father gets up late for work, mother has to iron his shirt, then she sends the kids to school, sees them off with a small kiss. She's the one they're going to miss in lots of ways. To rest, the kids are playing up downstairs, sister's saying in her sleep, brother's got a date to keep, he can't hang around. Our house in the middle of our street, our house in the middle of our street, our house in the middle of our street, our house in the middle of our house was our castle and our keep, our house in the middle of our street, our house, that was where we used to sleep, our house in the middle of our street, our house in the middle of our street, our house.
From the album The Rise and Fall from 1982, Our House, of course, by the wonderful Madness. Now it is coming up on 2 minutes past 11. Alexa, can we have the news headlines, please?
Here's your news. In weather, in Lewes, it's 15 degrees Celsius with mostly cloudy skies. Today, you can expect clouds and showers, with a high of 17 degrees and a low of 5 degrees. From BBC Sports News.
The latest BBC Sport update.
It was England's turn in the cricket and then New Zealand struck back in the netball. It's been a huge year of World Cup games between the two nations and they go again in under 90 minutes time in the Rugby World Cup semi-final. England forward Maro Itoje says if you want to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And that's the challenge for Eddie Jones's side as they take on a team that haven't lost a World Cup game in 12 years. The head coach has made just one change to the team that beat Australia in last week's quarter-final, with George Ford coming back to partner captain Owen Farrell at centre. And Jones says preparations have been low-key.
Yeah, one of the things probably learn is that you don't do too much this week. You actually train a little bit less. For 2.5 years we've been building up a game to play against New Zealand, so we don't have to put a lot of new stuff into our game this week.
All the build-up to the big game starts at 8 o'clock here on 5 Live. Wales centre Jonathan Davies says they have a score to settle against South Africa in their semi-final tomorrow after the Springboks beat them in the quarter-finals of the last World Cup. The 31-year-old says the game will be the biggest of their careers and revenge for the defeat in the tournament in 2015 will be on their minds.
We were devastated with that because we felt like we deserved to win that game. So we feel like we sort of owe to them from 4 years ago. So that will be in the back of our minds, and hopefully we can get one over them this week.
So it's going to be a historic weekend in the rugby, but in football, Leicester City have already put their name in the record books after they did this at Southampton last night.
Ben Chilwell gives Leicester the lead in the rain at Southampton. Ball might run to Tielemans, right-footed drive, 2-0 for Leicester. Perez is in, he's beaten Gunn, it's 3-0. Valerie wasn't watching, Perez nips in, it's 4-0. Wonderful finish, must be 5-0. Vardy gets in on the party. Iosi Perez has a hat-trick for Leicester. Southampton 0, Leicester 6. Crossing Vardy, 7-0. Round the wall, what a goal! 8-0, James Maddison on the score sheets. Great penalty, great goal. Jamie Vardy's hat-trick, incredibly, makes it Southampton 0, Leicester City 9.
What a result. The biggest ever away victory in 131 years of the Football League. Meanwhile, Southampton manager Ralph Hasenhüttl says the buck stops with him.
The performance was, as everybody has seen, a disaster today, and I have to apologize, and I have to take the 100% responsibility for what happened today, because I've never seen a team acting like this, like we did today, and this is something I must take 100% responsibility for, and because there was no fight for anything.
Lewis Hamilton was only 5th fastest in second practice at the Mexican Grand Prix, with Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel setting the pace. Hamilton is bidding to clinch his 6th World Championship. Tiger Woods is tied for the lead at the Zozo Championship, the first ever PGA Tour event to be held in Japan. And the Great Britain Rugby League Lions are getting ready to re-emerge onto the international stage. They faced Tonga this morning in their first ever 4-game tour. That's at 8 a.m.
BBC Sport. From BBC News.
This is BBC News. Essex police are still questioning 4 people about the deaths of 31 men and 8 women in a lorry in Grays. A man was detained at Stansted Airport yesterday on suspicion of manslaughter and conspiracy to traffic people. 6 Vietnamese families have now contacted the BBC to say they think their relatives were in the container. Efforts to remove and identify those who died are continuing. A second man is due before magistrates later, charged in connection with the deaths of 2 teenagers at a house party in Milton Keynes last weekend. Earl Bevans is 22. He'll face 2 counts of murder and attempted murder. A document leaked to the Financial Times suggests that the government could be prepared to erode workers' rights and environmental standards after Britain leaves the EU. The leak suggests there's a plan to diverge from the EU on regulation and workers' rights, despite ministers pledging to maintain a level playing field. The former Brexit and now Business Minister Kwasi Kwarteng called the claims completely mad. At least 40 people have been killed and 2,000 injured in the latest wave of violent anti-government protests in Iraq. Several people died in the capital Baghdad when they were hit by tear gas canisters fired by security forces. There are patrols on the streets of 4 southern provinces to enforce a curfew. The protest started 3 weeks ago against corruption, lack of jobs and economic hardship. Millions of Californians are expected to lose power as the emergency services continue to battle 2 rapidly spreading wildfires there. The local power company says it will cut electricity supplies to about 2 million people after a fault developed at a transmission tower near one of the fires. And President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, has left an accidental voicemail on a reporter's phone. Mr. Giuliani accidentally called back NBC's Rich Shapiro after they'd spoken earlier in the evening. In a 3-minute recording, Mr. Giuliani can be heard talking about foreign business dealings, Joe Biden, and a need for money. That's the latest from BBC News.
That's all for now.
You're listening to Radio Lewes, where the music matters. This is Saturday Live, and this is the second hour of the show with more great music, more of our shameless self-promotion, and hopefully not too much drivel from me. I'll give you the gig guide again halfway through because it's a little short and you might have missed it the first time round. Anyway, let's get back on with the music.
The air attack warning sounds like. This is the sound.
When you hear the air attack warning, you and your family must take cover.
Two Tribes by Frankie Goes to Hollywood from 1984. The album was Welcome to the Pleasure Dome. I think we got time for one more before I have to give you some more shameless self-promotion. We'll go for a bit of Nick Kershaw.
I
From 1984, that was the lead single and title track to the album, and that hit number 3 on the UK singles charts. Now, while I have another look at this list, I think you can follow the Vapor Trail. I'm in the studio with Steve Brooks. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Ben. You're right.
Steve came to Radio Lewes to a Pass It On show, but he's part of the band that kicked off our Radio Lewes live sessions, the Dead Sea Scouts. And he'd been in contact with our lovely Soraya about doing the radio show, and unfortunately she was ill and passed away. So I did the Pass It On show with you. And from that, you invented your Vapor Trail show.
Yeah. Basically, I had such a good time in here, actually, doing the Pass It On and kind of playing music I liked. And then we kind of chatted, and I begged and pleaded, and eventually you gave in. So, I came up with Vapor Trails, which is basically, the idea was to look at the influences on punk music. And basically, from talking with friends and different things, it's kind of been an ongoing chat I've had for a number of years, and it's kind of like, okay, well, let's see what we can do. And to be honest, it's been fantastic. So, been finding lots and lots of things that I didn't know before. I mean, for instance, we did in one of the early shows a band called Death, who were like 3 black guys from Detroit playing punk music long before the Ramones, and that was just fantastic. So, it's been really, really cool. And, thanks to Radio Lewes for letting me carry on with it, basically.
Well, it's a pleasure, Steve. Where did your love of punk come from?
Well, the funny thing is, I was a little bit too young for punk, in the sense I was 10 when the Sex Pistols were on Bill Grundy and things like that. But the next day, we all read about it at school, at junior school. We had a friend called Gimbo who could read better than the rest of us, and Gimbo read out the transcript, and we just thought that was hilarious. But yeah, looking back on it, I think, and I can prove this with an Etch-a-Sketch and about 7 cans of cider, that Anarchy in the UK is probably the most important single ever released in my lifetime. And that's just for the sheer effect it had, what punk did, changed everything, at least in this country, musically. And I really love that. But it's also, from doing this show as well, finding all those influences of things that I love as well. So kind of mods, soul, ska, Motown, everything else, all that stuff kind of came through in punk as well. So, yes, ongoing love affair, I guess.
Well, you had an influence of sort of controversial music from your dad, didn't you? Because he was a teddy boy.
Controversial, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, yes.
Rock and roll was controversial.
Absolutely, yeah. There was a brilliant story about my dad. Is that he wanted to get a suit made, and back in the day, you had to go to a tailor and get your drapes made. And he went and got a quote, and he came back to his dad, and they both worked in a sawmill together. And my dad said, I need a few shillings to put down on this thing. And my granddad, Ernie, said, not unless you cut that effing hair. And my dad said, oh, well, I'll go and save up myself. Well, words to that effect. And that's what he did, yes. Yes, controversial it was, definitely, yes.
Yes, indeed. Now, I mentioned the band, the Dead Sea Scouts. How are things going with the band you've just released?
Well, we're on the verge of releasing something. We've actually decided to take the summer off, and kind of, because there's 5 of us in the band. Again, 5 of us in the same room at the same time is quite difficult. And so we did some recording a couple of months ago, and that came out really, really well. So that's kind of waiting there to do something with. Unfortunately, we did lose a bass player, which was very careless of us. Probably fell down the back of the sofa somewhere. So we've got another guy in, Rob, and he's fantastic. He's really, really good bass player. And he's also brought the average age of the band down by about 10 years, I think.
We've had some discussions about where your show could go and other things we could do. So what future plans have you got for Radio Lewes?
My benign dictatorship. Basically, with Vapor Trails, we've been looking at the influences of punk, and the last show that I did, we were looking at the covers that punk bands did, so we looked at the kind of originals. The one that I'm going to be recording this time round will actually be the punks playing those covers, and then we'll be looking at covers of punk songs. So there's a lot of scope to go with it, and I've actually got a couple of people that are interested in coming in and talking about post-punk. So there's a show there already lined up, waiting to go. But basically, we can take it and look at influences of anything. So it doesn't have to be punk. A couple of people have asked me to do one on influences on two-tone, so that'd be pretty cool as well.
There'd be a fair bit of punk in that.
A fair bit of punk in that, yeah, as well. And also, I know that you've asked me to pop in on the rock show at some point, and we'll talk about punk and metal. And again, that's a huge crossover there and loads of stuff. So, yeah, we could just see where it goes. And that's kind of the idea about the name, really, Vapor Trails. It'll just go anywhere, really.
Brilliant. Steve, thank you so much for giving me your time.
Cheers, Ben.
Great to see you. Thank you. Bye-bye. From 1985, yes, that was Dead or Alive, You Spin Me Round. Great hook, but not the most lyrically challenging, I'm sure you'll agree. Paul Hardcastle now.
In 1965, Vietnam seemed like just another foreign war. But it wasn't. It was different in many ways, and so were those who did the fighting. In World War II, the average age of the combat soldier was 26. In Vietnam, he was 19. 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 19. The heaviest fighting of the past 2 weeks continued today, 25 miles northwest of Saigon. I wasn't really sure what was going on. 19. In Vietnam, the combat soldier typically served a 12-month tour of duty. but was exposed to hostile fire almost every day.
700 enemy troops were killed last week in that sensitive border area. Throughout all of South Vietnam, the enemy lost a total of 2,689 soldiers.
Administration study, half of the Vietnam combat veterans suffer from what psychiatrists call post-traumatic stress disorder. Many vets complain of alienation, rage, or guilt. Some succumb to suicidal thoughts. 8 to 10 years after coming home, almost 800,000 men are still fighting the Vietnam War.
Another protest song. That one's self-explanatory. Paul Hardcastle, 19. That was the first single from his self-titled third studio album from 1985. This is unusual. This one's a TV theme. Oh, that conjures up images of Don Johnson in an oversized jacket with the sleeves rolled up, doesn't it? Jan Hammer from 1985 and the Miami Vice theme. Now the gig guide, and it is short, as I said earlier on. Andy Irvine, he is at the Elephant and Castle at 8 p.m. tonight. That's £12 his gig of the month in Viva Lewes. Loose Caboose, DJ night playing 60s soul, northern soul, rhythm and blues, Latin and jazz at the Con Club at 7:30 for £6. The Manatees and Ibex, a double bill of local bands at the Lansdowne at 8 p.m. That's free. Also free, Sweet Onions and the Muzztones at the Royal Oak at 8 p.m. and the Contenders at the Lamb for 8:30, and they're free as well. And they're busy this weekend because on Sunday the 27th they're back at the Con Club at 3:30 in the afternoon for a free gig. And Edenwood, Chill Down Sunday at the Lamb, and that one's free, but I haven't got a time on that, that's peculiar. Monday the 28th, Andy Williams, Javier Ferrero and Terry Seabrook, Jazz at the Snowdrop, 8 p.m, and another free one. And lastly on the gig guide here, Thursday the 31st, Night of Horror at the Lamb, 2 live bands and a DJ Nightmare. That'll probably be King Mob. At the Lamb from 7:30, and again it's free. And a couple for November, the Guana Bats are at the Con Club on the 2nd of November for 18 quid, and the Wooden Tops on the 10th for £15, and you can get both of those tickets from Cy Sounds, no booking fees from Cy. He's got tickets for all sorts of stuff coming up, but as yet he still hasn't furnished me with a list. So he's either being very, very lazy or he's very busy. I know which one I would pick. More music.
Make a one man weep, make another man sing. Change
hit the top 10 here in the UK, The Power of Love from Huey Lewis and the News, written for and featured in the 1985 blockbuster Back to the Future. It also appeared on the European and Japanese edition of their own album 4. I don't know what's wrong, it's Simple Minds. I like a bit of Simple Minds. Simple Minds with Don't You Forget About Me from 1985 from the album The Breakfast Club. Now I want to try and squeeze in a lot of these. There's some great stuff on this album, so we're going to carry on now. I'm going to skip a couple though because I played them a couple of weeks ago. So So we're going to go to track number 8 on this disc. This is the Beastie Boys. From 1987, You Gotta Fight For Your Right, the Beastie Boys. That was their 4th single released from their debut album, Licensed to Ill. And that made number 11 here in the UK singles charts. Did slightly better in the States. Reached number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now you're going to take a dip in the Pick-Up Mix.
Hello everyone, by now you've probably worked out I like to sit down and have a chat with our DJs and have a nosy into what they're doing, and I'm very pleased to say that I've finally tracked down Si Stonehouse.
Hello.
Hello, Si.
Wandering the streets I was.
I actually thought I was going to have to abduct you at one point to get you in here, but I've run out of chloroform.
Busy man, you see.
Yeah. So, Si, tell us a little bit about your show, because you've been doing Pick a Mix for a while now.
We've been doing, we started off doing Pick a Mix, 7 years ago. We did it on Rocket, and we'd just get into the flow of it. I'll go, yeah, this is really good. And then it would stop for a year, and then I'd go back the next year and forgot how to do it all. Yeah. And it'd take like 7 days for it to work, to get back into it, and then it would stop again. So I talked to John. Well, I sent John an email saying, can I do some radio shows? And he very kindly got us to come down, and we looked around and we went away, and then I couldn't do it. I didn't have the time. And Nick being in the early years of teaching, as she likes to say, she only limited time. So it went to bed for a while, and then you came on knocking on my door and said, "Do you want to do something?"
Well, it didn't occur to John to offer you an afternoon, and it also didn't occur to him to speak to me about it. So as soon as I found out you wanted to be on the radio, I jumped at it. So doing an afternoon for me was easy. I am sorry to say Nick can't be with us. There is an empty chair.
And that's why it's so quiet, you see.
With a very sort of Nick-shaped hole.
Yeah.
So we're very sorry, and we're just going to have to put up with Si.
Yeah.
But what's Pick a Mix about?
Oh, Pick a Mix is mental. It's like, I just play all the music I want to hear. When you wake up in the morning, sometimes you've got earworms in your ears. They're on the show. You know, it's just, it could be anything. And then Nick just chats and rambles in between with, like, because we're brother and sister, we know what each other's thinking and what we're saying, so it becomes quite funny. It's normally about our parents, but
your poor old dad's getting paranoid, isn't he?
He's getting very paranoid now, yeah. Oh dear.
Well, you had all this music you couldn't play because Nick didn't like it. So you invented another show, and it sounds very familiar to me.
It's the Si Sounds show.
Si Sounds. Oh yes, of course.
It's like that little emporium down in Station Street.
Well, you mean the Radio Lewes box office?
The Radio Lewes box office, yes. Yeah, and one of the stickers that are around the town probably you've seen.
Seen lots of stickers, yes.
It was. I wanted to play stuff that I grew up listening to, bands like The Fall and Bauhaus and all the sort of punk, post-punk stuff. And Nick would sit there going, "Oh, I don't like this," and it didn't really fit in. So I decided, right, I'll do another one on my own, and it's good. It's good fun.
Well, it's certainly a good show, and it's getting a lot of listens, which is always good for us. Although I do hold a slight grudge because I'm pretty sure you're nicking some of my listeners.
I'm aiming for the bedbound and people that can't reach the computer to turn it off.
Well, long may it rain because it's really enlivened
Thank you.
our schedule, and of course it gives us a permanent link with the best independent music store in Sussex.
Yeah. At this moment in time, the only one.
It probably is, yes indeed.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for giving me your time.
Cheers. See you again.
Bye-bye.
But I'll find him somewhere, somehow. I've gotta let him know how much I care. I'll never give up looking for my baby. Been around the world and I can't find my baby. I don't know when, I don't know why he's gone away, and I don't know where he can be. My baby, but I'm gonna find him. Ooh, we had a quarrel, and I let myself go. I said so many things he didn't know, and I was oh so bad. I don't think he's coming back. He gave the reasons he should go, and he said things he hadn't said before, and he was oh so mad. And I don't think he's coming back, coming back. I did too much lying, wasted too much time. Now I'm here and crying. I've been around the world and I can't find my baby. I don't know when, I don't know why he's gone away, and I don't know where he can be. My baby, but I'm gonna find him. So open-hearted, he never did me wrong. I was the one, the weakest one of all, and now I'm oh so sad. I don't think he's coming back, coming back. I did too much lying, wasted too much time. Now I'm here and crying. Been around the world and I can't find my baby. I
From 1989, Lisa Stansfield, All Around the World. And I can't be bothered to look it up. I want to get through a few of these because we're running out of time. We've only got about 6 or 7 minutes left. Do you know what? I don't want to play Tiffany either. We're going to go with Belinda Carlisle.
Baby, do you know what that's worth? Ooh, heaven is a place on earth. They say in heaven, love comes first. We'll make heaven our place on earth. Ooh, heaven is a place on
Heaven is a Place on Earth, Belinda Carlisle, from her second studio album, Heaven on Earth, from 1987. And that hit the top of the Billboard Hot 100 and the UK singles charts, where it spent a couple of weeks at the top. I'm going to get another one in. This is S Express.
Enjoy this trip. Enjoy this trip. And it is a trip.
Countdown is progressing. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, a great bit of acid house, and that was another one that spent 2 weeks at the top of the UK singles charts in 1988. Essex Press Theme from their debut studio album, the original soundtrack. Oh, that's it. I'm out of time. You've been listening to Saturday Live here on Radio Lewes, where the music matters. I've been Ben Fuller. Thank you so much for listening. I'm going to leave you with Coma and Lambada. Until next time, ta-da.
the webcast in for a worldwide audience.